Hi, I'm Chad with Move for a Guitar. In this lesson, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to help you transition chords smoothly and quickly. So transitioning quickly and smoothly between chords is something that all beginners struggle with, and it's something that you will just learn over time. You'll get better and better as you play. You'll just learn how to do it. You'll figure it out. But hopefully in this lesson, I'll give you some tips that'll speed up the process and also help to keep you from forming some bad habits. So the first thing that you should do when you're learning how to transition chords is, one, if you're transitioning chords, you always want to make sure to look for any notes that are shared between chords. So if I'm transitioning from a C major to an E minor, well, those both have my second finger on the 4th string 2nd fret. So when I'm going from that C major to the E minor, I should leave my second finger on that fret the whole time and only move my other 2 fingers and put my first finger down to go to the E minor. I don't want to go C major, remove all my fingers, then go to E minor, because that would just be creating more work than necessary. From C major, I leave my second finger down and then move my other finger into place for E minor. Then if I was going back, the same thing. So you can see that's a lot less movement than if I was to go. That just wouldn't make sense. That would make it a lot less smooth of a transition. And that's a habit that a lot of people form early on, is not paying attention to shared notes and just removing all their fingers to go to the next chord. And I even do it sometimes with chords that I'm playing, just because when I was learning, that's what I did. But you always want to try and look for any notes that are shared that you can leave down. Another example would be going from a G major to a D major. Those both have my 3rd finger on the 2nd string 3rd fret, so I shouldn't remove that finger as I'm making my transition. That finger should stay down the whole time. I don't want to go. I want to go. And the same from G major to E minor, or D to E minor 7. G major to E minor 7 or D major to E minor 7, that 3rd finger would still stay there. So if I was going G, D major, E minor 7, my 3rd finger would stay in place the whole time. So that's the first tip. Always look for shared fretted notes that you don't have to remove your finger from as you're transitioning between chords. Another tip is to always do the minimum amount of movement necessary. So if I'm going from something like an E minor to an A minor, when I'm doing that, I want to leave my fingers as close to the strings as possible when I'm transitioning, and get to the point where I can put all my fingers down at once instead of one at a time. When you're starting out, you're going to do one at a time just because your mind has to think about it, but you'll eventually build your muscle memory to where you can put all your fingers down pretty much at the same time. So if I was going E minor, A minor, it would look something like that. It wouldn't look like this. You know, letting my fingers fly away off the strings or putting one finger down at a time. Like I said, you can do that at first because you're just going to be building your muscle memory to get to the point where you don't have to. But if you look from E minor to A minor, my 2nd and 3rd fingers are staying together. I just move them barely above the strings and then back down to get in place for the A minor. And also, I wouldn't want to be going from playing E minor like this, unless it made sense from the previous chord that I was playing before the E minor. But if I was just playing E minor to A minor, I wouldn't want to play the E minor like this and then switch over to the A minor. I want to play the E minor with my 2nd and 3rd fingers, because I'm using those 2 fingers in the same frets for the A minor. So it's a lot less of a movement to go like this with my 2nd and 3rd fingers. They just stay together, make a nice movement, than it is to go from E minor with my 1st and 2nd finger and then have to totally switch the shape of my hand and go to the A minor. That would make a lot less sense. So always make sure that you're fretting the chord before in the way that's most logical for the next chord that you have to go to. And a lot of chords, there'll be multiple ways to fret the chord, and it really depends what's before and after to make your smoothest transitions. Another big tip to know is, if it's possible, leave out the last up strum. So if I'm going something like down, down, up, down, up as a strumming pattern, well, it's better to leave out that last up strum because that gives me more time to transition. I could go down, down, up, down, 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 up, down. Instead of doing that last up strum, I would have less time if I was going down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down. I'd have less time to get that transition in. So if it's possible, leave out that last up strum. But that's not always possible. That doesn't always sound the best. So another thing you can do when you're playing open chords is on that last up strum is to actually just let open strings ring out. You don't want to go down, down, up, down, up, and then rush to get to the next chord and do that. It's going to sound really choppy. So on that last up strum, that's when you can start making your transition. So if I do it really slowly, it'd be like this. Down, down, up, down, up. And that's exaggerated. I'd never remove my fingers that much, but that's where I would play some open strings. And then down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. So if I was doing that without exaggerating, it would be like this. So you can hear on that last up strum, I'm just letting some open strings ring out. I'll leave any shared fretted notes down the whole time, but I'll let some other open strings ring out on that last up strum so I don't have to rush to get to that next chord. It gives me a little more time. And that sounds totally fine when you're playing open chords where those strings are actually in the chords. Those notes are actually in the chords. It's different when you're playing with bar chords and stuff, but there's more tricks you can do with that, but that's more advanced than where you are right now. And one more tip that I'll give that should really help you out is, it's more important to keep your strumming hand going than it is to hit the chord perfectly in time. And what I mean by that is, if you're playing, say, just keep it simple, from E minor to A minor, well, if you don't hit that next chord right on that next down strum where the strumming pattern is starting over, don't worry about it. Just let that chord fall in the middle of the strumming pattern if it has to. So it could sound something like this. So even if you miss a chord or if you get some muted strings or some buzzing, keep your strumming hand going. That's far more important than hitting the chord perfectly. People are going to notice when you mess up your rhythm a lot more than they'll notice if you mess up your chord. So even if you really hit a bad note or just are really muting strings or buzzing anything, keep your strumming hand going and just force those changes, force the chords in the middle of the strumming pattern if you have to. And that's something even advanced players do when they're playing and mess up their transition. They'll make sure that their strumming hand is going even if they are really struggling to hit the next chord. So even if I was doing something like I wasn't hitting those transitions right on the next, right where I needed to, where that strum comes in, so I just let some muted strings ring out, or I just keep my strumming hand going even if I'm struggling to get the changes in time. You need to make sure you force the changes and keep your strumming hand going. So hopefully those are some tips that will really help you with transitioning chords quickly and smoothly. Like I said, every beginner struggles with it, and even knowing these tips, you're still going to struggle with it. So it's important just to do it over and over and over again until you're able to do it quickly and smoothly. But hopefully these tips will make it a little bit easier for you and help keep you from forming some bad habits. So thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe because we add at least one new lesson every day.